I'm Lance Naiman. The United States has some of the worst drivers on the planet. More than 38,000 people die every year in car accidents, according to the CDC. Over 4 million suffer non-fatal but serious injuries, and road deaths occur about 50% higher in the U.S. than any other first world country. Regardless of race, gender, or ethnicity, the majority of Americans are incompetent drivers. Few people have the feel nor respect for other drivers and do not clearly understand the hazards of the road and the overall dangers of driving. The majority of us Americans drive every single day, usually more than once a day. So even with all that practice, why are we so terrible at driving? How is it that a country with more experience behind the wheel than most other places around the world produce more accidents than anywhere else? What makes the United States a hotbed for unsafe and unruly drivers? Though there may be several reasons that could account for this, I believe it boils down to 3. Distracted drivers, poorly trained and inexperienced drivers, and perhaps most importantly, people that drive far too fast. Today, I'd like to figure out why drivers in the U.S. are so terrible and what can be done to fix it. My goal at the end of the speech is for you to critique your own driving skills. Now, first let's start with a little history. After President Eisenhower passed the Federal Aid Highway Act of 1956, America saw an explosion of people replace the rails with the road and take to the streets all across the nation. The Highway Act connected our cities and brought a newfound freedom to traveling by vehicle. Though the history of the automobile in the United States goes back much further than 1956, the Highway Act really was the catalyst that ignited America's love and obsession with the automobile. Now, 1956 to date here in 2022 was precisely 66 years ago. So how does a nation with almost 70 years of highway experience still produce accidents at such an alarming rate? Well, according to Business Insider, almost 75% of the American population believe that they are above average drivers, despite the fact that 90% of all road-related accidents are at fault due to human error. This statistic really shows just how oblivious we are behind the wheel. But what exactly constitutes a good driver? Though there isn't any explicit measurement, tickets and driving citations can be a good measure. According to Business Insider, there are 195 million registered drivers across the U.S. Over 40 million of them receive a ticket each year, which accounts to almost 80% of American drivers, meaning 8 out of 10 drivers you encounter on the road have received a ticket. Before I touch base on the causes behind terrible drivers, I would like to clarify that most, but not all accidents are due to poor driving. There is an infinite amount of scenarios that could cause a catastrophic or even severe accident. These points I'm about to make do not cover the small amount of freak, 1 in a million type accidents that still do happen. But in my opinion, the vast majority of accidents happen due to these 3 points. Distracted driving has been a cause of motor accidents for a long time. Looking away from the road for more than 3 seconds can increase the likelihood of an accident astronomically, as important to be ever vigilant to the road and other vehicles around you. There are many things that can distract you while driving. Eating or drinking, messing with the radio or dials, checking the mirror to see how your morning bedhead is holding up, or just looking at the tree lavish with the colors of autumn. These are all examples of distracted driving, and there are many more, but they all pale in comparison to people using their phones while behind the wheel. We've all seen it, and according to statistics, most likely done it ourselves. According to a report done by the CDC, 24% of the population say they take phone calls behind the wheel, and 14% say they're willing to text. Now, those numbers may seem small to you, but all it takes is one person on their phone to cause a major accident. As I said earlier, there are many forms of distracted driving, but none are more egregious and preventable than texting or calling while driving. Make sure your focus behind the wheel is on the road and the road only. The second cause of poor driving are poorly trained and inexperienced drivers. How many times have you been caught behind the slowpoke in the left-hand lane? Or someone riding just a little too close to your rear bumper? These are people that have no feel for the other drivers around them. Though riding slowly in a passing lane could be chalked up as inexperience, there is no excuse for riding too close to the car in front of you. It's dangerous, as you literally have no time to brake fast enough if the car in front of you slams on their brakes. No destination must be reached quick enough to disregard other drivers' safety for your impatience. Most of the time, the person on the road has nowhere to go. The person on the road in front of you has nowhere to go. It is imperative to stay at least one car length back and to prevent rear-end collision. You may want the car in front of you to go a little faster, but you won't be going anywhere if the car is total in the ditch along the highway. The biggest threat to driver safety in the U.S. are speeding drivers. Almost half, 45% of drivers report going over the speed limit according to ABC. Now, I wouldn't be lying to you if I said I don't go 5 over the limit sometimes, because it's something that we all do. But not enough can be said about the dangers of driving too fast. Next time you're near a highway, like on a bypass or on a pedestrian bridge, try to pay attention to just how fast cars are actually going, even if following the speed limit. You can really get a sense as to just how fast they're traveling, even though it doesn't seem that fast when you're actually behind the wheel. A car can weigh anywhere from 1 to 5 tons, and that's not even mentioning trucks, buses, or industrial vehicles. These are heavy objects moving at fast speed. Driving fast benefits no one. It puts you and everyone else in danger and shaves only but a few seconds off your commute. There's an old saying that still rings true today: speeding kills. So what solutions can be implemented to make our streets safer and get people to drive better? It starts with driver's education, the course we all had to sit through before we got our learner's permit. The structure of the class feels boring and disconnected. In my personal experience, it was almost hard to stay awake at some points. The class needs to be more engaging and require more hours of class time. The permit exam should be more rigorous, and the driver's exam should have a minimum passing grade of 90 rather than the paltry 60. Most importantly, there should be more extreme punishments for traffic offenses. I recommend the 3 strikes you're out policy for speeding offenses in particular, meaning after the 3rd offense, your license will be temporarily revoked until you complete driver's education all over again. Unfortunately though, these suggestions are merely hypothetical. There is really only one way to make yourself a better driver. Eliminate the notion of me, myself, and I. Take the other drivers on the road into consideration. I know we have all had close calls and almost severe mistakes. Chances are some of you have already been in an accident. Not every accident can be avoided, and not every accident is your fault. But being a safe driver protects yourself and others around you. So remember to stay focused while driving, keep a safe distance, and most importantly, slow down.